stone. Oh, but when I reach that ground, I'll share this peace of mind I found. I can feel it in my bones, but it's gonna take a little time for me to set that parking brake and let myself unwind. Shine that light on me.
What's up, all you big timers? Welcome to the Big Time Podcast, episode number 2. And I'm here with a dude, man. I mean, he is as big time as it gets, especially in my life. This guy is podcasting out of Ham's Special Light Boulevard. He's the son of Paul and Kim Lafferty. To our DeSales baseball team, he was named first team as a freshman, second team as a sophomore, and he's out of Notre Dame High School. Conor, who let the dogs out? Lafferty, man. What's up, man? How you doing?
What's up, buddy? Thanks for having me on. Really ready to get big time here.
Welcome to the Big Time Podcast. Truthfully, I appreciate you coming on. My college roommate for a long time never kicked me out, which is a good thing, and that's a plus to you for sticking in there. Is this your first podcast that you've done?
Yeah, this is probably the most attention I've gotten on video chat since some Snapchat stories, but I'm ready to rock. Oh,
well, hey, if there's one thing about me is I'll go in on a Snapchat story. I'll tell you. First, I want to apologize to Sam, your girlfriend. I feel like we put you and her through hell trying to get you ready for this. We had, 2 device changes. We're trying to get your lighting going. You got the wood chipper in the background still. It's all right. We got it going. I appreciate you being on, man.
Yeah, I got her mom's laptop rocking right now. We got I'm in her bed. We got the picture of the dog up top here. Got some Coors Light in hand. So we're ready to rock.
Oh, a little Coors Bullet. Nice.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta get your hands dirty with a nice cold Coors Light.
I thought it was Ham's Light Boulevard. All right, though. Every time I drink Coors Light, you're always shitting on me. What's that about?
Dude,
are you a closet Coors guy?
I mean, dude, it all tastes the same. It's beer.
I hear you. Well, dude, and the Big Time Podcast, what is that, man? It's anything big time for me that I find interesting in the combat sports world or the pro wrestling world or the world or anything. And what we're going to do here today, dude, Conor Mcgregor versus Nate Diaz, number 2, the rematch, one of the UFC's greatest rivalries of all time. And I haven't watched this thing live since the time we watched it together. And when we watched it together, I don't know how much of it I was watching. I have no recollection of that night. Do you?
Yeah, I have recollection of you in your McGregor costume running across the TV doing some shadow boxing.
Yeah, I had to show it off.
Yeah, we had like 40 people.
Yeah, there was some Irish whiskey flowing that night. But in any event, dude, we're going to rewatch it here. So I appreciate you coming on, sitting down, watching this with me. Just so everyone, all those big timers out there are, if you're listening, we're on Orion 6000, which is a YouTube channel. And if you go on YouTube and you type in McGregor versus Diaz, number 2, it's a UFC free fight, and it's on there. We're at the 13-minute mark there on the old tube. But let's get into this, man. And certainly, I mean, Conor McGregor is as big time as it got for me. I was a huge fan of his lead up, his MMA background up into the UFC and getting in there. And then obviously we have Nate Diaz, who's a UFC veteran. And we'll get into how their careers kind of collide. But let's go to the event that we're going to cover here. UFC 202. We're in Paradise, Nevada at the T-Mobile Arena. The attendance was 15,539 people. They did a $7.7 million gate, which is unreal, and a 1.6 million buy rate, which is crazy too. A huge pay-per-view, obviously Conor McGregor numbers, but Nate Diaz, man, no slouch when it comes to promoting himself either. And you kind of look like Nate Diaz, just throwing that out there. All right, man. You want to get into this? We'll get the lead up going. And at any time, if I say anything during the notes I have here just hop in. If you want to make fun of me, it's all good. Don't even just let it roll, bro.
All right. Good at
and
that.
that dog above you looks good. All right. So look, Conor McGregor debuts with the UFC on April 6th of 2013, and he defeats Marcus Brimage in his debut, TKO in the first round, and then he goes on to defeat Max Holloway, which went to a decision, and I believe Conor tore up his ACL and his whole knee during that fight. Still went 5 rounds with Max Holloway, got the win. Then he defeats guys like Diego Brandao, Dustin Poirier, and Dennis Seaver. And his win streak and superstar persona earns him a title shot for the 145-pound championship against Jose Aldo Jr. Conor and Jose went on that huge world tour to promote this fight, which was at that time going to be the biggest fight in UFC history. But Jose injures his rib cage during his training camp. And there's actually a clip, if you look it up on YouTube, Dana and Lorenzo actually come to McGregor's Las Vegas home, and they break the news to him. And Dana famously says, Conor comes down when he wakes up, and Dana goes, he broke his fucking rib. And Conor asks, so what happens now? And Dana explains that we'll have a new date on December 5th for the Aldo fight, which would give Conor another 7 weeks or so. And Conor goes, the Aldo fight's in September. Whether I'm going to take another fight is the question. And I think for guys like me, that's why I was such a fan of Conor McGregor. Yes, he did all that trash talk. Yes, he did the promos and the press conferences and all the extracurriculars. But this is why I'm such a fan of this guy, is because he'll fight anyone at any time, anywhere, any weight. And this lead up and this rematch, once we get to Nate Diaz, proves that. So the Aldo fight, yeah.
I would say you probably actually got me into Conor McGregor, as a fan, because I watched UFC a little bit, I like the big fights mainly, but then McGregor hits the scene and it's just this dude is must watch TV. And,
yeah,
you dressing up in the costumes as McGregor, I was forced to watch.
Yeah, I'm glad someone enjoyed it. Yeah, I mean, everyone knows I'm still a Conor McGregor nut rider. I'm such a fan of him, man. He's got that entertainment aspect that I love dearly. But yeah, before this, it was the Chuck Liddells and the Tito Ortiz, and then of course Brock Lesnar, Randy Couture, those guys. But then Conor and I'll say Ronda Rousey too were really the first two huge names that started making noise to guys like you and me that really drug us into this sport, which is huge now. I mean, in 2022. So here we go. It's booked. McGregor's going to fight Mendez while they wait for Jose Aldo to heal for the interim featherweight world championship. So on July 11th of 2015, Conor enters the cage with a torn ACL and KOs Chad Mendez in the second round. Then, after another whole promotion, Conor goes on and KOs Jose Aldo in 13 seconds to officially win the featherweight strap. Immediately, Conor wants to move up and challenge for the 155-pound championship against the then-champion Rafael Dos Anjos, which you kind of also look like, just saying. During the lead-up to that fight, Dos Anjos injures his foot and ends up pulling out. And on 2 weeks' notice, a UFC legend steps in, no fear, and takes the fight with the biggest star in the UFC. Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor 1 is booked at 170 pounds on March 5th of 2016, and that's at UFC 196. So who's Nate Diaz, man? I mean, Nate's career at this point is one of a true veteran. Nate fights in the WEC for 2 years, and on June 23rd of 2007, he debuts for the UFC by winning the Ultimate Fighter finale. Did you ever watch any of those Ultimate Fighters?
Yeah, not when they were originally coming out, but I see him on YouTube and all the shorts on Instagram. And
yeah,
those dudes were killers. They have nothing else. They're just trying to make a name for themselves. They do not give a fuck.
Hell no, dude. And what a tough way to make a buck, you know? So Nate fights 21 times before the first bout with Conor, defeating names like Gray Maynard, Jim Miller, Donald Cerrone, Takanori Gomi, Melvin Gillard, And then on December 19th of 2015, he defeats Michael Johnson. And that's where, during the post-fight promo, Nate calls out Conor, saying that Conor has taken everything that he worked for and that Conor knows who the real money fight is. So here we go. After a long, decorated career of Nate Diaz and an undefeated streak by McGregor, the two meet for the first time. And what happens? Nate Diaz submits Conor McGregor in the second round via rear naked choke, shocking the world. Nate follows his victory with another memorable post-fight promo. I'm not surprised, motherfuckers. After the loss, McGregor contemplates going back down to 145 to defend his 145 featherweight strap, but quickly decides to run it right back with Nate at 170. And here we go. The bout is slated for UFC 202 here in Nevada on August 20th of 2016. So we go to the weigh-ins. Nate weighs in for the rematch at 170.5 and Conor at 168. So, I mean, this story, man, I mean, again, the Big Time podcast, dude, this story is as big time as it gets. What am I a fan of? And I think I can definitely, I know you relate to this. What are you a fan of? The big time fights, that buzz. You know, like when we were all at our buddy's house and we watched McGregor fight Mayweather.
Yeah.
Like, I'm addicted to that buzz. Like, you just like glued to the TV. You have a fairly good idea of what's going to happen, but you're like, what if, you know? And I think this whole story of Nate stepping in on 2 weeks' notice, I think it was like 9 days' notice once Dos Anjos goes out, steps in, and Nate was fighting for such a long time, but it's not even like I really was a huge fan of the Diaz brothers until their first fight.
Yeah, I would say until the Diaz-McGregor second fight, because no one really thought that Nate Diaz was going to step in there and do what he did in the first fight to McGregor. That had to be probably the biggest UFC fight in history up to that point. And like you were talking about earlier about, like, there's something about the big time fights. It's just like when I'm watching a fight like that, I feel just like I'm sweating. My adrenaline's through the roof. I feel like I'm the one that has to get in the ring there.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why we picked this, man. And I threw that idea out there to you a couple days ago to cover this fight, and I think I got a response with a couple 4-letter words, and it was just like, let's do this, because this is as big time as it gets. That buzz is in the room. I kind of feel the buzz sitting here in my living room. You're in whatever room you're in with a dog above you, with the chainsaw and the wood chipper in the background. But dude, I appreciate you coming out and doing this, man. Are you ready to press play on this thing?
Hell yeah.
All right, man. So you're the big time guest. I'm gonna let you count me down. So you're gonna go 3, 2, 1, play, and on play we'll hit play.
All right. Well, we're having a little technical difficulties with these ads here, but I'll get you your countdown.
Oh, who put the ad on? Well, you're at 13 minutes, correct?
Yeah.
And big timers, go ahead, type it in on YouTube. UFC free fight, McGregor, Diaz 2.
All right.
Ready, Pro?
Yep. 3,
All right.
2, 1, do it.
All right, so we're at the 13-minute mark. We just had our guys both make their walks, and they're about to meet in the corner, or in the middle of the octagon here. We got Big John McCarthy.
Dude, Conor looks like he's just, like, ready for war. Diaz is all, like, his Gumby-like self, just, like, jiggling around.
Yeah, the Cholo gangster, the iconic, never-changing Nate Diaz. Now I just got hit with an ad. Gosh darn it.
Uh-oh.
It's all good. Let it roll. Let it roll. Yeah, huge difference and that's a good point, Conor, that McGregor is ultra serious, ultra focused. In the first fight, they go out and Conor's switching stances right away, and he's saying, we can go both stances, mate. And he's kind of playing with him, and he's throwing big shots and wasting a lot of energy, and Nate was able to take those shots.
Yeah.
And in the first round, avoid a bunch of them. And then in the second round, Conor was able to tag Nate up a little bit, but Nate just hung in there and hit Conor with that 1-2 and pointed at him, and it all changed from that point. So Conor has some errors to correct here, and it takes balls, man. It takes those big Irish nuts to run it right back at 170.
See, that's the thing with Nate Diaz is like, if you saw Nate Diaz in street clothes, like you would just be like, it's just another guy walking down the street. But
Yeah.
little do you know, like this dude's an absolute killer. And the thing about Nate Diaz is like, you watch all of his fights, and this dude's gushing blood. He's bleeding from every part of his face, but he just never stops. It's impressive.
Yeah, and that's kind of the allure of the MMA fighter, right? It's like those guys that, like you said, they don't have that like look appeal where they're like they'll just frighten you by one stare. But you if you get in an exchange with these guys, I mean, they'll end you. And that's exactly what you have with both Diaz brothers. I mean, they're triathletes, cardio for days.
Oh.
McGregor starting this fight, and the first thing, well, when I first watched this, I didn't notice shit. But the first thing that we notice here is he's throwing that back foot leg kick. He just caught Nate and knocked him down for the first time. Give me a time cue.
He gets right back up, dude.
Where are you at, Laff? Are you at 3 minutes here?
3 minutes? Oh, in the round.
Yeah, in the first round.
I was going to say, man, you told me to get to the 13-minute mark. Yeah, I'm at, right now we're sitting at 2:47.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so you let me know, man. This is your podcast.
This is your podcast, man. You're big time and everybody. I appreciate you being on here. Conor freaking big time Lafferty, dude. Conor who let the dogs out.
Oh, dude. Take it easy.
Hey, just so everyone knows, the balls on this guy got aside of me here. We're in the Dominican, and I go to the guy doing karaoke. We're at the resort, and I'm like, hey, I got this guy. He wants to sing "Who Let the Dogs Out" to a bunch of nice Dominican people. And let alone you go up there and do it, and you rock it. It was awesome.
Dude, I was 3 sheets to the wind standing at the bar, and then I hear like my name being called on stage, and I get up there and like I'm saying I didn't know what you guys picked, but I was like, oh, like this should be interesting. And I was like, I can't not do this at this point because like you have the whole team back there. You get on and it's "Who Let the Dogs Out." Yeah, everyone knows like the "Who Let the Dogs Out," like the chorus or whatever.
Yeah.
But when that goes in, it's the Jamaican dude rapping, and they have the words, the lyrics on the ticker. I just gave up. I was like, I don't know what you want me to do here. But yeah, I killed that chorus.
Now that was as big time as it gets. and then you got amped up and you dropped the mic, and the poor people got a little upset by that.
Yeah, he was pretty pissed. But you know, it is what it is.
That's why you're big time, baby.
Yeah.
Laugh. What are some do you like podcasts? Do you listen to any?
Yeah, I listen to podcasts.
Did I already ask you this?
No.
Okay, cool. That would have been
back and forth.
That would have been a great move on my part.
Doubling up on the questions. Yeah, I listen to Rogan. Not like all of his things. Like some of them are pretty interesting, but I listen to like people that I recognize. Some of the comedians, some of like the scientists that have like cool topics they're talking about. Listen to Pardon My Take. It's a
Hell yeah.
sports podcast.
I think that's why Rogan is so. I mean, he's been doing it for a long time. He's kind of like the godfather of podcasting.
Yeah.
But I like him. I respected him because he said, "I have anyone on that interests me. You know, if you do something that you're really good at or you interest me in something, I'll have you on and we'll talk for hours." And his podcast is so good because of that. You know, one week he's got a guy talking about all the aliens he saw, and then the next week it's Joey Diaz talking about doing coke until he's 40 years old in jail, and you know.
Well, he's such a good like interviewer. So like his podcasts are like no shorter than like 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
So it's kind of insane how he can just like sit down and have a conversation with people that he like never met prior to that for 3 hours long straight.
Yeah, we're seeing some big exchanges here from Conor and Nate, and you can see Conor really landing the heavier shots and McGregor staying away from. engaging in the groundwork when Nate does get dropped. One, I think he doesn't want to go down there, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu background of Nate Diaz, but also, too, to conserve energy. He knows that Nate's going to hang in there. I think he knows he's got to keep that cardio up. But yeah, that's why Rogan is so good at podcasting, because even when he has like guys like D'Elia and Theo Vaughn, I love it, man. When 20 minutes in, you just lock in and you feel like you're right there with those guys, and you're just like laughing, and you're in your car alone, but you're giggling and looking weird. The guy next to you driving looks over and is like, "Why is this guy in a McGregor costume?"
I listen at the gym and I'll just be like on the bench press, just like laughing. People were probably looking at me like, "What the hell is going on?"
That's all good. They say that's big time. Who let the dogs out? Lafferty right there.
Yeah.
Oh, well, big shot by Conor. Nice left hand drops Nate.
He really worked the leg kicks in the first round too. So like you can already see the bruising on Nate's right front leg.
It's wild how Nate stands too. He's kind of just flat-footed, shelled up, big left hand again, drops Nate for the second time in this round. And look at Nate. He's got a bloody nose. He says, "Come on."
He wants him to get on the ground because he knows. But McGregor's learned from that.
Yeah, in that first fight, Conor was touched up on the feet, but so exhausted that he kind of desperately shot for that double leg. And Nate had that iconic post-fight thing. He goes, "Oh, so you're a wrestler now?" It's like, got another ad popping up. The old free YouTube app. It's all right. We'll figure it out.
I think our ads are differently timed too, so
I know this is tough.
I'm trying to pause it to keep up with you.
I'm at 3 minutes and 30 seconds left. I don't know where you are, but
What the hell? You're ahead of me?
dude, I'm big timing you.
Pause too much.
Go to 3 minutes and 20 seconds. We'll be right around the same.
I got you.
Second round here. I mean, this was definitely the biggest fight in UFC history up to that point. And it's kind of interesting. I think at this time, it was almost like I don't know. I don't want to just keep saying McGregor, but maybe like a DC John Jones, like that would be the biggest fight in the history of the UFC. Like the UFC kept climbing so much in this era, doing bigger gates, trying to get into stadium shows and all that sort of thing.
Well, I think that the way that it's going now is like the fighters are showing more of like personality, and that's just like people get drawn into like a certain fighter, like whether he's talking shit or like he's playing like the good guy card or like quiet. Like people want to root for somebody or want to hate somebody. And I think McGregor's someone who it's like he's polar opposite. You either love him or you hate him.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, and his fights were electrifying. So that's really what made him blow up.
Yeah. These guys are so tough. I mean, the Jose Aldo fight, Conor and Jose had the stare down right before the fight. And Conor goes, I saw his right hand twitching, and that was a tell for me that he's going to unload that right hand, and I won't be there, and I'll catch him on the chin. And that's exactly what happened. That's just like, there's tough guys, but then there's guys that like are really about it. Like just like so talented that they see these fights and these sequences going on in their head, and they're able to just like tell you about it and have the confidence to say it. That's why I was such a fan of him. And I'll stop hugging his nuts here in a second.
Well, it was I guess it was probably a few fights before this fight. Wasn't he like predicting like what round the fight would finish in and like how he would do it?
Yep.
Yep. Yeah.
Now you see Nate Diaz kind of pouring it on here at the end of the second round. Conor smartly getting out of there. And Nate would say that he was running.
I mean, he does his little Irish jig out of the way there.
The old Irish jig.
Yeah.
That's how I wake up every morning. Do the Irish jig out of bed.
Yeah.
Hey, big props to you, Lafferty. When I hit you up about doing a podcast, you were like, because I do pro wrestling podcasts and all that, and you were game. You're like, I don't know much about wrestling, but let's do it. And then I hit you with this, and you're like, I think you were kind of like, okay, that's more my wheelhouse.
Because now, like, I would call myself a UFC fan. Like I'm not. I like to watch pretty much every pay-per-view card. I'll watch like all the fights, sometimes even before the main events. But I wasn't like super into it. I guess probably until college is when probably when McGregor came on the scene is like
really
started getting into it. Oh, he's piecing him up now.
Yeah, Nate's really pouring it on. Conor doing a good job trying to take deep breaths and not take big damage, but Nate really putting it on him.
He's saved by the bell there.
Yeah. Look at Nate, too. Now the momentum's swinging. Now, at this point, Nate was knocked down 3 times, but Conor, again, fading here at the end of the second round. Nate being able to take the big shots and hang in there.
I mean, there's got to be something where like he hit Nate Diaz with a few left hands that are just like, I mean, you hit me with one of them and I'm running, I'm on the ground, I'm KO'd. There's no way I can take that punch. Nate Diaz has taken a bunch of them, and he's got to be thinking like in his head, I hit this dude as hard as I can. How is he not falling? How is he not like getting knocked out? Like he's going down, but he has all his wits about him.
Yeah, that speaks to the toughness of these guys. And here I go. I am glued to McGregor's dick here, hugging it. But able to speak about it and say what he's going to go out there and do, and he's going to beat this skinny fat guy up, and he's going to win the fight and do all this. But in the back of his mind, he knows Nate's going to hang in there. He knows he's going to land big shots. He knows all of this, and Nate's going to hang in there for 5 rounds. He knows that. So he's got to prepare himself to be able to withstand that.
I will say that's a perfect description of Nate Diaz's body. He's like skinny fat.
Skinny fat.
Yeah.
And Nate, if you're watching this, Conor Lafferty said that.
No, I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry, Nate.
All right, so we're in the 3rd round here of this fight. McGregor Diaz, the rematch. Where are you at, Laff? I'm at 450. Okay. I'll fast forward here. I'm at, where am I at now? 430. Should be right around.
We're right there. Yeah.
Nate, continue to pour it on.
Looks like kind of gassed.
Yeah, he does. And Nate's pointing at him, doing the vintage Nate Diaz antics. Yeah. And he's getting up against the cage and he's wearing on him, making him carry his weight. McGregor does a nice takedown defense there.
See, it'd be great to hear like these guys mic'd up in the middle of a fight, just like hear all the shit they're talking and like whatnot. Because especially these 2 guys, they're probably the 2 best shit talkers in the UFC.
Yeah, they're 2 dogs.
Yeah,
really in the prime of their careers. I remember when we were in college, man. I mean, Anderson Silva was older, but he was still big. I think there was one night where I was 2 sheets to the wind, as you would say, and I'm after an Anderson Silva fight. I'm so excited after the big time fight.
Trying to do some head kicks. Show off the flexibility with the legs.
Bisping was chasing the title at that time. Conor hanging in there, man.
Yeah. Oh.
What are some Laff? What are some fights of any kind of the UFC, boxing, things that excite you? What are some big time fights that you can think of that you can flash back to that maybe if you like podcasting that you would come back on and want to do cover?
Say the best fight I think I saw recently, well, I guess it's not that recent, probably a couple of years ago, was the Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman fight. That was insane. Those guys are both freaks.
They fought twice, correct?
Yeah. I'm talking about the first one. When
Kamaru broke Colby's jaw and all that. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, the nuts on both those guys, and especially, I mean, I love underdogs, and Colby Covington, I mean, goes out there, breaks his jaw in like the second round, and it was a 5-round war, really. Kamaru ends it by TKO at the end, obviously, but yeah, I'm such a fan of Colby.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I think he does a little much for, like he has a flair for the dramatic, like in his press conferences and stuff, but that dude is an absolute savage.
Yeah, but you got to remember, dude, and from the way that Colby speaks about it, as you sip on that Coors Bullet. I appreciate that.
Mountains aren't blue anymore. These things have been. I gotta get a couple more of these.
If you got to go down and get it, dude, I'll carry it. Don't worry. Do whatever you got to do. But Colby, they were going to cut him, man. They were going to cut him. Win or lose, they didn't think he was exciting. They didn't think much of him. They didn't like his fighting style, and the UFC was going to cut him. And then he goes out there and fights. I think it was Lyoto Machida. I could be wrong there. Big time listeners, let me know. In Brazil, and he wins the fight, and then he starts going on and on about Brazil's a dump, and he hates this place, and this and that, and they keep him. And then next thing you know, he's in the title picture. You know that he kind of played into that character.
Yeah. I mean,
Hearing this.
What's that?
No, you go ahead, man.
I say, like, he just has something about him. He's another one where it's like you love him or hate him. And I'd say the majority of people probably hate him just because of what he says and like how he carries himself. But that dude is entertaining. I love him personally. Like, I'll watch any fight that any card that he's on.
Nate Diaz pouring it on here. Yeah, Conor's able to kind of slip it, but big shots. John McCarthy's right there. Yeah, and I was kind of on the fence with Colby until he fought, if you remember, Robbie Lawler, and he just pieced up a UFC veteran for 5 rounds or whatever it was. It was just unreal, the beating he put on him, the pace he put on him, and I was like, this guy is something. Big shots by Nate Diaz. Conor is exhausted.
I mean,
John McCarthy's ready to step in there.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the round. And look at Conor. Big, deep breath. Nate has, I mean, as much confidence, as much Stockton in him right now as he can get.
Well, you think about McGregor's style. He's not really built to go 5 rounds in championship rounds.
Dude, not at all. And history will tell you that. That's a great point. And okay, why am I a fan of this guy? Let's check out this fucking 4th round. Look at him right now as he sits on the stool. He's gassed. He is that fast twitch athlete that everyone talks about, right? And I don't know, man. I don't know how he was able to do this, but as he comes out here in the 4th round, we'll watch. He gets that energy burst, man.
Yeah, he gets a second win for sure. And because by the end of the 3rd round, like you were just probably automatically thinking like this is going to be just like the first fight. Nate Diaz is going to just outlast him with like the gas tank, and just he's going to catch him, and that's going to be game over. But McGregor really does a good job.
Look at Nate; he's got that blood rolling down,
like tears of blood. Yeah,
and to your point, Conor, I don't know, maybe I'm just speaking here, but what do you think about, you know, as if you're an athlete and you have to go 25 minutes now that they already went 15, and now Conor can see that it's the 4th. Maybe that's a mental like checkpoint where he's like, okay, I made it here. Now I can start opening up a little bit, you know, let's try to win this round. And then we only have one more round left. It might be like a little bit of a mental checkpoint for him.
Yeah, that too. And just like, you're probably getting an adrenaline boost. You're like, all right, these are the championship rounds. Like, we've had a good fight so far. It's pretty close. So now it's like, let's get going.
I mean, at this point, when you're watching it live for the first time, you're thinking Nate. It's only a matter of time before Conor gasses. Nate catches him with a big shot. Nate is marching him down.
You know what I was surprised about in this fight is that, I mean, McGregor has done a good job of like the takedown defense, but I would have thought Nate would have shot more just because his ground game is he a black belt?
Oh,
or
yeah.
Brown belt?
Yeah. No, he's as black belt as it gets.
Yeah. Like, I would have figured he would have tried that out more, but I think it was probably more of like I pieced him up in the first fight. Like, I could probably do it again.
Yeah, I think his game plan, and it's interesting too. I always think about, look at those kicks to that front leg of Nate.
Yeah.
Thing is swollen. It's interesting that he didn't do that, but he did. He does portions of that when he gets him up against the cage and he's wearing on him and he's throwing the jab out there. But yeah, never really shoots for a takedown. I think he lands one takedown in the fight near the end of the fight. Nice elbows there by McGregor. Another nice elbow. I'm at 3 minutes and 10 seconds of the 4th round here. Big Time Laugh.
Did I ever tell you about the time when I did some jujitsu?
No.
Yeah, dude.
No, you didn't. How was that?
Well, I did it for like a week in the just like at the end of the police academy. But then I went to like a couple classes. We had like some things, and I'll tell you what, it is probably the most humbling thing you could ever do, dude. I'm 6'2", 215 pounds, like relatively athletic. I went in there and it got my ass kicked, dude. Like more humbling. Like I'm talking about like they call it rolling. I rolled with like 4 or 5 different people. I wrestled this dude. He's like a little like 5'6", 150-pound, like a little Asian guy, and he was a I believe he was a brown belt. And this dude absolutely kicked my ass. We rolled for about like 5 minutes. He choked me out probably 5 times. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm gonna get over this one.
Well, and that's why people say like they could go out and beat some of these guys up that are lighter weights and all. It's like you just don't know, man. You just don't you don't get it. Especially in the world of jiu-jitsu. I like the quote by Joe Rogan when he got his black belt. He said, "It makes him a better man because jiu-jitsu, you can't. It's black or white, man. You cannot fake it." I think he says a lot of people walk around this earth faking things or trying to be people they can't be or what have you. But in jiu-jitsu, you can't hide anything, And I think everything you're saying attests to that. I didn't know you did jiu-jitsu, man. That's badass.
Yeah, I didn't keep up with it. I do definitely want to start again just because it's first off, it's insane. Like it helps you with your endurance, like tremendously. Like I would say you get more tired from that than like anything else you could do to your body.
Yeah.
And also it's just like, I think it's more of like a mental thing where like, if you get in a bad position, you know how to get out of it. You don't panic.
Yeah.
I think that's huge for pretty much everything you do in life.
It's an art too. It's pretty beautiful, guys that are high level. And now you see at the end of the 4th round here, Conor handily won this round, comes back, finds that second win. Nate is pouring blood. And both guys just going for it.
You can see Nate's blood on Conor too. Like that's how much this guy bleeds.
Yeah, and their exchanges are different, man. Like these exchanges, every shot is powerful. These guys are hanging in there. Nate throws a big leg kick to the head of Conor, slips, and here we go. We're going into the 5th. So, go ahead.
I was gonna say he just has so much scar tissue.
Yeah,
you really just gotta touch him to have him start leaking.
Yeah, you toss a little Coors Light bullet at him and he'll start leaking everywhere. Dude, I hope that for me, if this podcast is successful, is if you call your girlfriend after a couple more Coors Lights and you're like, "Hey, what's up? This is Big Time Laugh."
Dude, she'll throw me out. Be like, "Get away from me, you freak!" But I'll get. But
as I skip another ad here, any big time people in your life you want to shout out, man? Now, if this is your time, I appreciate coming on this podcast. And I can tell you one thing: you're a podcast natural. Hopefully, it's not your last podcast. You're on the Big Time podcast.
Big time people. You got to shout out the family first: mom, dad, Kate,
the OGs.
Yeah, and the girlfriend. I gotta shout out Sam. She's the best, and I'm doing that so I don't get an earful later.
Smart man.
Yeah.
Here we go, dude. 5th round. Mcgregor Diaz 2. What do you think so far, Laugh?
I mean, up to this point, it's like, what do you could call it 2-2. This round is very telling. I mean, obviously, I'm not a UFC judge, but just watching it, insane.
Yeah,
and it's also hard to tell.
It is. I think it's for me, Conor goes out there, wins the first round. I think he knocked Nate out twice. And then Nate wins the second and the third, and I think Conor won the fourth. So it's 2-2 here. For sure.
Yeah. And how do you feel about the championship round being 5 fights as opposed to like 3 for a normal fight?
A championship fights being 5 rounds. Yeah. I mean, I like it. I think it adds – sometimes when you got 2 really high-level guys, sometimes 3 rounds just isn't enough. Like sometimes you get to the 3rd round, you're like, wait, the fight's almost over? You know, so I like that they go 5 rounds. I like it. Again, it adds to that big-time feel. When Bruce Buffer's out there, this fight is for, you know, the whatever title, and it'll be contested on 5 rounds, you know. Podcasting out of Hams Light Boulevard. How'd you like that? I was trying to catch you out of left field.
Hams Light Boulevard. They're going to say Jasmine Drive.
Yeah. Where we rented a home in Catasauqua. Or not in Catasauqua, in Center Valley for DeSales for college.
Club Welsh.
Yeah, Club Welsh, baby. Where we met the big-time Bucks box god, Noah Big Time Box, man. Shout out to him, man. Hope to have him on the podcast soon. And Connor Schneider, dude. Need you on, man.
I'll put in a good one.
And Dunny. We got to get Gunny on this.
Yeah. Oh, Nate tagged him a little bit there.
Shout out to Alex Torres. Had him on the first episode we watched. Oh, look at Nate pointing and throwing the bird.
Flips him off.
Shout out to Big Time Alex. He's part of the Big Time family. Watched a little pro wrestling in our first episode. Again, anything big time, any big fight and any kind of combat sport, man. That's what we want to do, what we want to cover here.
Now, I mean, you can tell at this point, they both traded some good shots earlier, and Nate's really getting after him, but these guys got to be just dead.
Oh, man, the slashing elbow by Nate Diaz. Conor hit him with some good body shots.
Dude, I can't even get my leg that high. He's trying to knee him in the face. Dude, I do like some Frankensteins, and I'm pulling a hammy.
Yeah, your knee's going to his ankle, huh?
Yeah. About that.
Big John McCarthy. Of course he's the ref. What an OG of the fight game, Big John. It sucks that we don't really see him ref anymore. I guess he's retired, right?
Yeah. Who's your GOAT ref? Is it Herb Dean?
Big John, son.
Yeah?
I'm a Big John guy all day long.
I thought you'd be a Herb Dean guy.
We're going to have him on the podcast soon.
You really sell that one. You got Herb Dean coming on here?
Yeah.
Get some good stuff.
C-Laugh right to Herb Dean.
Yeah. Damn. You blow me out of the water, I'd have nothing.
Nah, you're Big Time Laugh, man. You're Big Time Connor who let the dogs out. Now we got 1 minute to go, man. Connor and Nate just clinching on the cage here. What a fight where they just gave it everything. It was a dog fight, dude. Straight dog fight. Nice elbow by Connor.
Dude, an elbow like that.
Ugh.
It's kind of insane what these dudes' bodies can actually take.
Yeah, try to have that and then go do your homework. You know, it's like you can't.
And like that's the thing. Like, do you think just over time, like you just get used to that, or like?
I think through the rounds and sparring and all the career of fights, you know how it feels. You become more relaxed in there, getting touched up. But at the same time, the more big shots like that you take, the easier it is for your light to get shut off. You know.
Yeah.
Chuck Liddell said it as we end the fight here. What a dog fight! Chuck Liddell said his light switch got deteriorated over time because of the amount of KOs that he had. And his brain just like shut him off to protect him. And what a fight, man. I mean, the two fighters, Connor and Nate, don't necessarily, they both think they won the fight here.
I mean, they both have a good case for it, too.
Yeah. And even after the second I'm sorry, the first fight, they had a lot of respect for each other. You know, Conor's sitting on the stool, and Nate goes over and tells him, "Good shit, Conor," and they embrace. And here in the second round or the second fight, I think you can't. It's probably impossible to go through something like this and not bond with that opponent a little bit. You know.
And you know they're both making money off this. Like, this is the biggest fight of both their careers, probably.
Hell yeah.
So.
Yeah, the first fight.
They're getting paid.
Conor goes, "Congrats, Nate. You're rich now." And he goes, "Normally when my opponents get rich by me, they ring their wives." And he says, "Nate rings Nick." He's such a...
Dude, Nick Diaz never came back, did he?
He just came back.
Oh, yeah?
Last year or earlier this year. Yeah, he fought Robbie Lawler in kind of a weird fight. Lawler won, and I don't know. Nate kind of got screwed with that whole marijuana rule, if you ask me. It was just too long of a layoff, and
yeah,
what a great fighter. And that was such a great fight. Him when he fought Robbie the first time, and he was talking all that trash to Rob. So as we wait for this decision, dude, if we recap strikes, and Conor looks at his corner and goes, "Do you think I won 4 rounds?" And they said back to him, "I think you won 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
Look at them both embracing. Good for these guys.
Did they ever come out and say which rounds?
I'm sure they did. I don't know it off the top of my head, but I know it was obviously 3-2. Conor McGregor, he's going to win here. But as we recap it, I mean, Nate actually outstruck McGregor. 252 total strikes to 197, which is a crazy stat. Nate landed the only takedown of the fight. Significant strikes, 166 for Nate, 164 for Conor. But I think the deciding factor, as we see the decision here, Conor knocks Nate down 3 times to Nate's 0. So Conor never falls. Nate's dropped 3 times. Shows his toughness, man.
And you can just look at, given all Nate's scar tissue, but you can just see the damage. There's significant strikes, and there's some significant strikes that are more significant.
Oh, for sure.
That left hand by McGregor was just working. He dropped him 3 times with it.
Yeah, and guys at 145 and even 155 can't take it. And there you see the decision.
Yeah.
Conor wins by, I don't know if it's split or unanimous, but either way, man. And Conor gets on the mic here and says, "I'm not surprised, motherfuckers, the king is back," or something. What a dog fight. There's no losers in that fight. And here's an interesting question, which is still not answered. This fight was when? When did I say? 2016, I believe?
I think so.
Yeah, something like that.
16 or 17.
Do you think we'll see a third?
I would love it. My only one is all the things going on with McGregor now. Is his leg going to be healed? Is he going to be able to pass the drug test? Because the dude is a brick shit house right now.
Yeah, he's looking all Mexican, supplemented up, baby.
And then Nate Diaz. What was his last fight? I know he fought Masvidal.
Nate just he was supposed to fight Hamzat, and then Hamzat didn't make weight in a weird way, and then he fought Tony Ferguson and won.
Yeah. Nate's gone through some wars, so I don't.
Hell yeah,
he's still a dog, so I'm sure he'd get up for another shot at McGregor just to settle it.
Yeah, I would for sure dig the third fight. The tie break for these guys, it would have to be at 170. I don't think Conor can make 155 again. And another thing to think about is Nate's not under contract right now with the UFC. So some boxes that would have to get checked. But, it's such a money fight still even to this day, which is crazy. Those guys are still as big of a draws now as they ever were.
Mm-hmm. 100%. I think it probably would make sense because you got McGregor coming off the injury and a long layover, and then Nate Diaz isn't even signed right now. So I think if you bring those two for a fight, you're gonna do some numbers.
Oh hell yeah, and I think all predictions go towards Conor coming back and fighting probably Michael Chandler at 170 next. But we'll see. UFC is it's definitely an exciting, electrifying sport right now. And Conor, why do you think it's like so big right now? Like you were saying, you kind of watch like every card now. Like that's a relatively new thing that guys are doing that. Is it the sports betting aspect of it as well? Is it all the different fighters? Is it just more cards? What do you think it is?
I would say, well, I mean, I like to bet on these sometimes. Not that I ever really do well because anyone can knock out or submit anyone. So it's kind of just more for fun. But I think just the way that these guys are marketed now.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, your whole Twitter feed's just like crazy knockouts or crazy submissions. More people are actually like doing the sport or an aspect of the sport. Like, I think jiu-jitsu has grown like a lot, at least from what I've seen, especially with social media. And just the personalities of these guys and just the respect that an average dudes like us sitting on the couch, like watching this for like, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's it.
I think the kind of putting money on fights too. It plays into that. You get that big time buzz. You know, you get buzzed up when you're watching this stuff. But I'm appreciative to sit down, soberly watch this for the first time and recap it here with you, Laugh. I appreciate you coming on, man. That was huge of you. All the big time listeners here on the Big Time podcast appreciate that. What'd you think, man? What'd you think of the fight? What'd you think of the first podcast of Conor Lafferty's life, man?
Well, I mean, the fight was awesome. I knew that because I saw it back in 2016, but just like watching it again, it just like I'm still sweating. I got probably some pit stains. Good thing I'm wearing a dark shirt. But, no, it was great content. And yeah, thanks for having me on the podcast. First podcast. Don't know how I did. Probably watch this back and just be like, why'd I say that?
It's what it's all about, man. It's all about that. And I for sure do that, but I just think it's fun. It's, it was an opportunity for us to sit down for an hour and hang out. That's kind of how I look at it. And that's why I really truthfully do appreciate the times that I can spend like this. And it's a hobby that has kept me busy and I enjoy it. And I think that's why it's so fun. I think that's why podcasting really is kind of taking off.
Yeah, because
it's just fun, man. It's just like, what would we do? We'd probably just be chilling out, but now we got together or whatever and did this, and, I'll post it and make you laugh, and you'll be saying how big time you are to all your new fans, man.
I'll hit you with a repost.
Yeah, of course. But all right, man. Hey, Laugh. Conor Big Time Lafferty, who let the dogs out? You know who it is. Hams Light Boulevard. Dude, stay big time, and I appreciate you. Thanks for coming on, man.